Yeah, probably we are live already.
Live streamed.
Yeah.
I should probably stream. I wonder if I can stream it from my
You can. You just have to share it. You have to go and share it. It worked. Oh my God, people. You won't believe what you said.
Do you stream on Facebook? How do I share it? Do I have to copy the streaming link or view stream on Facebook? Usually there's a I go to your feed and I share it from your feed, don't I?
That's exactly how we're gonna do it.
Okay, great. Give me 2 ticks while I do exactly that.
You get to have like 10 minutes for your stuff now that I took like 25 for my stuff.
It's all good. It's all good. This is the modern age.
Okay. You just
I've
tell
just got the slow. Yeah, I'll let you know when we're streaming.
Yeah.
Svenja, great. So happy to be here. And I can't see your stream. It's now live. Great.
Everything's
share.
Share.
Share now.
Hey, everyone. Hey, everyone on my feed. You've been watching us for 2 minutes already. We tried to do this through Facebook Live and it did not work. Surprise, surprise, it did not work. So we're here now. I'm gonna start my, sorry.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be here. So good to see you, Svenja.
We were already happy half an hour ago. We're still happy. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the podcast of Living and Dying. You know that I only invite people that I really love, that I think are adding to this world being a better place. And that's why I invited Russell. And, we chose the very humble title. What did we say? Money, Sex, and Death?
Money, Sex, and Death. That's right.
Sex, Money, and Death. You came up with the title, and I'm going to ask you in a second how you did come up with that. But can you just tell people like who you are?
Yeah, great question. So, well, what I do is I'm a hypnotherapist. Who I am is I'll give you a very quick synopsis of how I got here, Svenja. Many years ago, I ran a college of natural therapies. I studied everything under the sun in the field of personal development. And I came to a point where I felt like there was a lot of things missing, you know? If you look at all the people who teach the workshops today, they're like, I see so many relationship coaches in struggling relationships. I see many law of attraction coaches who are still trying to pay the rent. I see a lot of emotional wisdom coaches who are kind of like not where I wanted to be. And I was like, I wanted to find out what really worked and what works across culturally, what works independent of whether I believe in angels or chakras or ascended masters or crystals, and how I can apply that to myself. And so I've come to this point now, about 20 years later, having let go of the whole personal development industry, challenged everything I knew about everything. And now I'm just returning back to the field of like offering what I know and how I do it with this deeper understanding of the heart, of the psyche, of trauma, of what it means to live your best life, and finding some answers to questions like, why does shit still keep happening? Or why can't I just be happy? Or does my childhood really affect what's going on? Why can't I have a good relationship? I found a few answers to these questions, which I know, right? Which seem to dovetail with real life and don't require you to be humming affirmations or holding the right crystal or feeling like there's something intrinsically wrong with you because your relationship didn't work out or because you can't create the money you'd like, etc., etc. So that's kind of a long way of saying this is how I got to the place where I'm at. And probably the next time we do this podcast interview, Svenja will have a whole bunch of new things and say all that shit is garbage. But let's see what happens this time.
But I mean, what's the fun? Like when you're enlightened as hell and you don't have any attachment to this world, like where's the fun?
I think that's a really good point, Sonia. It's like I have nothing to prove. I'm not attached to being right anymore. And so I hold on to these principles, which I'm happy to share at some point, very loosely and with the understanding that at some point in the future, I'm probably going to outgrow them or they will teach me something new. And so I hold on to things very lightly now, but still with a lot of reverence. And I think it's a really good point that, you just brought up then.
Yeah. I like to say to my people, my crowd, that you can choose, like there's like basically two paths you can go. You can have the end boss goal of being like non-attachment, you just be in peace, not having the waves through your life, but just go like this. If that's your goal, perfect, go for it. My goal is more I want to fucking enjoy this life. Like, give me the highs,
Right?
give me the lows. I just want to understand what's happening so I don't get like angry or frustrated too much. But I want to enjoy, and I think that's what like the body shows you, right? What you're made for. It just brings you into situations by sicknesses, by creating relationships, creating abundance or not. I think more usually it does by not creating abundance, to show you like where are the things that you're supposed to not master, but maybe enjoy them.
Yes. Yep. I'm going to unpack a few things there. First of all, when you said at the very start, this desire to be kind of even in a place of harmony, it's kind of like the spiritual ideal, right? It's kind of Buddha's sense of non-attachment. It's what you imagine when you think I'm going to go and meditate and be like a monk for the rest of my life. And I tell you what, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And here's why. Because there's a couple of major conflicts which are baked into humans. Okay, we're very poorly designed from one point of view, but we definitely have this desire, and I totally get it, to have peace and have inner harmony. And you should absolutely, by all means, cultivate as many strategies as you can to create that inner peace. And it's super necessary. But the challenge is that a lot of spiritual people want to go to that place and stay in that place. And in doing so, it's very clear to me that they're just bypassing all of life and trying to bypass all the things that they don't like about life, which are challenging. So, two things. When I sat with Muji a couple of years ago in Rishikesh, okay, because, I'm trying to get stamps in my hippie passport as well. It was very clear to me that the people who were seeking enlightenment the hardest were the ones that were least able to deal with their life, right? And they're like, oh my God, Muji saved me because I want to be enlightened because I can't deal with this stuff. Now, on top of that, Senya, baked into our DNA is the dopamine system. Okay, and the dopamine system wants us to explore, to go out into the world and create, and to basically go to places that we've never been before. And it rewards us. When we learn something, we get dopamine. When we have an enjoyable experience, we have dopamine. And so we are wired to expand and grow. We get rewarded for that. But we also get rewarded for having peace and connection. And these two systems will constantly conflict in your life. Because what happens? What happens when everything's beautiful and peaceful and calm? You get bored and you start creating drama. What happens when everything is way too exciting and unpredictable and you're having to learn all the time? You're like, stop it. I just want to get off and go back and meditate. These two systems, and if we want to get really spiritual, this is the foundation of duality, okay? These two opposing forces, which are always pushing and pulling inside us. And there's a couple more that operate within relationships and with other things, but it's kind of sex and death, right? The two things. You want sex, you want the enjoyment, you go out of your way to pursue a relationship. And yet death is kind of lurking there as the ultimate place to relax, where there's nothing to do, where there's no one to be, and simply be pure awareness. And so we get caught between these two poles.
Absolutely, 100%. I had to try it. I have to try everything because I'm a profile 3 in human design. Everybody who knows, I have to, yes. I have to do it through trial and error. I have to try it. I won't know if I like it or not if I don't do it. So I had to try this, and it's exactly this. I have these thoughts in my head. When things get stressy, like you're in the middle of a launch, everything's just dragging, and us women, I mean, we're cyclical beings, right? So
yeah, that's right.
Launches are cycles for us. It's not this, it's this. So you start with an offer and you go into the energy of your launch, and then the moment comes when everything is like the energy's gone. It's like you're in a winter coming and saying, okay, what's happening now? And that's the moment where I'm always like, oh my God, I wish I could just have an episode and lie in hospital for 3 weeks. Yeah. And then it's like, oh my God, what did I do? Like, did I just manifest my kidneys failing again? Did I just manifest like I want to be, what just happened in my head? It's like one solution, because the mind is so, I love the mind because it just gives you solutions. It doesn't judge like whether that's a reasonable solution or not. It just says, you could try that, like that worked in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
My shadow. Yeah.
Yeah, so the mind loves solutions. It loves to categorize and label. There's a few, so here's a couple of other functions of the mind, which will also kind of help unravel this great big mess that we kind of find ourselves in as human beings. So the mind loves, and its job, it has a couple of jobs, which it's really good at, right? It needs to label, categorize, distinguish in terms of value and hierarchy. It's kind of a dirty word these days, but the hierarchy. And then forget, okay? So, for example, that a chair is something to sit on, and when you sit on it, it's going to hold you up. And then forever after, you can forget about what a chair does and whether it's going to work, because you've seen that pattern enough times. You get a big surprise when you're sitting on the chair and it tips over because you're not expecting that, right? But up until that point, you've forgotten about it. Same thing with something like driving, for example. There's a whole complex set of instructions that we need to do to go through and drive. But you've mastered that. It's become a pattern, and now it's disappeared. Imagine if when you went to the shops, you had to learn to drive all over again, which is kind of like the spiritual ideal of being present, which is like everything is new. You'd never get anything done, okay? Because you'd forever be learning. So our brain takes in things, makes it unconscious. The actual job of our brain is to make things unconscious. Where we get in trouble is when something in the past, like a trauma, occurs, and we create that response, and we repeat that response so that it becomes ingrained, and then we never go back and revise it, okay? And that's when a trauma becomes a pattern in our neurology. And I'm happy to talk about this later, but we need to be able to go into the code of our unconscious mind to rewind this trauma. And this is why I'm very fond of saying, understanding your patterns won't solve them, okay? It's like you've written out something, you've written chair and said, here's a chair. And your unconscious mind is like, no. Chair is a whole different experience, or driving. This is kind of the difference between the conscious mind, which creates the label of when I was young, my dad did this, my mother didn't do this, and now I'm like this, and now I want to be like this, versus going into the code of the unconscious mind. And so then if I loop back to your talking about doing a launch and, oh, now I'm in my feminine winter, what do we do then? There's a couple of ways. We can kind of go into our masculine and push through and penetrate it and just do the launch anyway. And kind of override our physiology. And, men have this experience too. We're kind of more culturally instilled to kind of push through. Or we can dive into the unconscious. We can dive into the feeling space and metabolize and welcome what is happening in there and bring this part on board with what we're doing. And that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful, because that's not the only thing that's going to happen, right? Pushing through. With pushing through comes like a whole other bunch of toxic masculine stuff, like micromanaging, checking up how many people registered, what else do I need to do. So like more people register. Like my last launch was like, I've had I think a weekend I had like 90 registrations, and I was like, I've had 400 last time. Universe,
okay.
What's happening? I was like, naming and checking, and what do I need to do? So it's like a downward spiral, right? So yeah, what I need to do, embrace what is, like embrace what's happening, and be, what I found so logical and yet nobody's doing it is like acknowledging what's there. We always have this like, hold your frequency, like you're not gonna sell if you're going down and you're not holding your energy, like the bypassing stuff. So hold up your energy and try to push through. And like the opposite is to just see what's happening in me. Like, can I bring, Sophie said something so beautiful the other day. She said, can I bring my heartbreak to my launch? Like, can I bring my low energy to my launch? And I was like, fuck yeah, that's exactly what I needed. These words were like, it's going down like cosmic honey, just dripping into, and something's changing. And then the magic is happening. When you stop fighting against everything that's there, and stop fighting whenever somebody said, you just said, and live your best version. I'm like, who says I have to live my best version? Like, maybe I just want to enjoy my messy me. I've been my best version for 30 years. Maybe the next 3 years, I'm just going to do my shadow me and see what's happening. Like, is everything going to explode? Are my dogs going to starve? Like, if I don't micromanage that, I need to buy food today, so I have some next week. What's happening if I don't make myself another person and instead embrace everything I am?
I love that, Sonia. I love that. Even that line, what happens if I don't make myself into another person? That's kind of, it's just, and I mean, so many of us have done it, have tried to fit ourselves into boxes and contort ourselves. And again, and look, on that note, I also want to kind of honor that there's a wisdom behind that contortion as well. A lot of the work that I do is about having such deep compassion, both for yourself now and to not betray your former self. I love this words by Jordan Peterson, another controversial figure, but he had these beautiful words to say when someone asked him, would you have done anything different, reflecting on your life? And he thought about it and he said, I'm not going to betray my former self. I'm not going to say that I would have done anything different. I'm going to back up what I did. And so here's another one of the fundamental challenges in our life and a launch is a great example where all of this stuff, all of the unconscious stuff plays out, right? We have this need for authenticity. You're a great example of someone who is fiercely sovereign, who is revealing and putting herself out into the world and being very authentic, okay? And even in this kind of podcast, you're kind of like revealing the struggles that you have on the way, just like Sophie is an example to us as well.
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful model for authenticity. And what happens if we go too far into being unique, special, and different? And Tony Robbins talks about this. We become a bit like Michael Jackson. We become so freakishly unique that nobody can relate to us. Okay. And in opposition to authenticity, there is a need for attachment and belonging and finding a tribe and feeling connected and part of a community to other people. And so a big, big fear when people are starting to put themselves out to reveal their gifts is their mind leaps 1,000 years into the future and goes, you're going to become so special, or that people are going to reject you, or else they're just going to reject you straight away. Better if you stay safe and you don't reveal yourself. Okay. And Dr. Gabor Mate talks a lot about this because he says we sacrifice authenticity for attachment. And what that looks like practically is that we choose not to be ourselves. We choose not to express our boundaries. We choose not to do the thing that we really want in order to please the other, in order to be accepted, which is also really, really important. And so, again, not to betray our former selves for making these decisions, but to understand that these two forces are in opposition. And often belonging is a really good idea because when we're young, we need our parents' love to help develop that growing nervous system. When we were cavemen and women, we needed to be part of the tribe. That's how we survived, and that's how we excelled as a species. And so for all of those people out there who are struggling with experiences like I'm a people pleaser, or I can't set boundaries, or I'm in a relationship but I don't know how to leave, or I'm in a job but I'm scared to take the next step, there's nothing wrong with you. You're doing, in fact, there's an intelligence inside that is working for you, and it wants to keep you safe. Yeah. And the way to navigate through is, can we bring these two parts together and find a way to navigate through? And
this is your hypnotherapy voice. So something inside me just directly goes to, yeah, that's so beautiful, like how the brain works. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah. That's fine. And I find it really important to share these because this is the foundation upon which our personalities are built, and they're baked in. And what happens is, as we grow up and we get acculturated, as we internalize the values of our culture. And spirituality is a culture, right? It has values which say you're unique and special, and you have a beautiful gift, and you should be grateful for, practice gratitude, and your thoughts become things in the real world. And while these are very good teachings, they come up against reality, right? Just because I think something doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time, and what thoughts do I need to be thinking? And I thought a bad thought about someone. Does that mean I'm broken, or I'm not in the vortex, or I'm out of alignment? There's something wrong with me. Am I going to get punished? No, you're just being very, very human. And these teachings aren't complete. They're just so very incomplete, and they can cause a lot of havoc for people. And I've gone down that road really deeply as well, and noticed and had to repair the havoc in me, which came when I thought, well, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for absolutely everything, or I'm only going to think positive thoughts, and then enjoy the rewards of the things that I manifest. And
you will.
Quite turn out the way they wrote about it in the books. And beyond that, in my observations of people all over the world, from Australia to Africa to the Middle East to America, from tents in Saudi Arabia to, psychedelic meetings in California and everything in between, I don't see very many people who are constantly living that kind of high vibration, enlightened kind of lifestyle. And I bet even people like Eckhart Tolle have bad days.
And don't have sex, by the way. I just found that out recently. He doesn't, like, for a decade, not like, yeah. That's what happens when you're not attached.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Kind of not much fun.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you do you with your kindest blessings upon yourself. And can we help each other along the way? It seems just so deeply vital.
Yeah. I wrote down like 100 things. I want to go into that because I do have so many clients always coming up with I know everybody thinks they are wrong, but something's really wrong with me. Like everybody thinks that, and I love everybody's fine, but I'm not. Like something is really wrong with me. And I love the first thing I do is like giving them the puzzle piece of everything that's in your shadow has been born out of love. Like it's been either you trying to love someone, trying to give your love, and it wasn't received, or you tried to be loved and you didn't succeed. And everything that comes out of there, like all the patterns, all the things that you decided you're gonna do in the future or you won't do in the future, come out of this very innocent part of you. So for me, it's so important that people realize that everybody is innocent and just a product out of the experiences you made, the way you're brought up, your socialization, things like that. So
I love that. And this is what I've seen very viscerally and in real time, because it's one thing, what you're saying there is a piece of wisdom. Your shadows are born of love, and that piece of wisdom is something that I have seen and witnessed and been a part of over and over and over again. And we've done it together in our sessions as well. That a person comes in and they are in their mind analyzing and assessing something and making it wrong. A lot of people say to me, I wish this feeling wasn't there, or I need to get rid of my money blocks or my love blocks.
Yeah, but I do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they want. But I think what I'm certainly recognizing and pointing to, as you said, is like these shadows come from a place of love. And as soon as we drop down below the surface of our judgment of that, the heart starts to reveal itself naturally. And the person gets a visceral experience of the love that you're talking about, that all shadows come from love. And I've not seen this. I've not seen anybody who doesn't have this inner core of wisdom and kindness and love, which sits just beneath their shadows. And this is just like the juice of everything that I've kind of been looking for and wanting to share very practically with the world, both through what I do with clients, and I'll be teaching this in the future, because you don't need to believe in crystals or unicorns or chakras or ascended masters, but you can as well.
Yeah. If it makes you happy, like if your inner child goes,
exactly. Yeah. But you can be Christian, you can be Muslim, you can be Jewish, you can be Jain, whatever you want. But there's something which I'm tracking, which is endemic to all of us, and you can call it what you will. But one of the trademarks of going deeper into the unconscious mind is that words start to drop away. Okay. Yeah. And it's probably about the right time for Rumi's quote, which I'm so fond of, where he says, bring anybody, Rumi. He says, out beyond notions of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. And so as we move beyond judgments of this is right and this is wrong, he says there's a field. And then he says, he doesn't say go there by yourself. He says, I'll meet you there. And for all the coaches and the facilitators and the people working with people, you are being Rumi guiding people to this field where you are holding them in what Carl Rogers calls the field of unconditional love. Now, little aside, unconditional love was never meant to be something that we do all of our life. It was contextualized to the client-therapist relationship. It's very hard to unconditionally love everything. But let me go back. The next two lines in Rumi's poem are, and when the soul lies down in that deep grass, the world is too full for words. And as you sink into your heart, you will find that you lose words to describe what's going on, but it is very real. And in this place, that's where healing happens. That's where trauma is allowed to unwind itself. That's where your uniqueness, which you know is there, resides waiting to connect to you.
Yeah. I've had this discussion yesterday where somebody said, I just love to discuss things. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't, because my I'm right here kicks in, and I've been working hard on the I'm right. You need to bow to my truth, right? Because I'm right. I found myself studying like all of those topics just to be able to know what's right or wrong. You know, I'm a bit in neuro, I'm a bit in quantum physics, I'm a bit like, I can play the piano a bit, I can, you know, I'm a bit in the Victorian age, not more than a bit, but you know, I kind of know everything. And it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna drop like 3 or 4 keywords and you just know that I know shit, like yeah. And the being right was such a big thing in my life that I'm like, this was my biggest key for my peace, that it's not about being right or wrong. And that made sense. Like, I've had carried the sentence for 2 years, and it made sense after 1.5 years. This is how much this was anchored in my system. Being right means that you keep your position, that people look up to you, and they won't get near you, like no fear of intimacy. They won't get near you. They will respect you. They will book you. They will follow you, things like that. So I found some pleasure in demasking myself in whatever mask comes up. And what you said about authenticity, absolutely true. I speak my heart, and that's just the mask, right? That's just the role. Be authentic. People are going to love it. Give them your shadow things, and they're going to jump onto your train. And it works. It works for me because I keep the position. It's...
You keep the position of being right?
Yes! And nobody can tell me that I'm wrong about myself, right? So this is like the ultimate weapon. It's like, and demasking myself and demasking and going deeper and deeper and deeper and finding myself to see, having to remind myself that in the end, my shadows too come out of love is very hard, but you know, not judging myself for treating people through authenticity, you know, that's a whole new level of shadow work. And yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. My goodness. One thing I want to say is I think you've managed to marry. So part of the way through the challenges that we face as humans is to marry opposites and to be okay with paradox. So first of all, you're talking about this desire, let's call it of your ego without making that a dirty word, but the desire to be right, okay, because it gives you all of these other things. It gives you validation, it gives you control. People respond to it. Oh my God, we could do a whole thing about people do respond to someone who's confident and unwavering. You know, the shadow side of that is narcissism, but we get drawn to confidence and certainty because we kind of crave it. You know, the notion that the world is extremely uncertain creates a lot of nervous system dysregulation. Anyone can look out the window who's looked out the window for the last 18 months has seen the amount of dysregulation that's happened. So someone coming in with a clear clear directive is
Yeah.
very
I
attractive.
know the way. I
Exactly.
know the best way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And for the person doing that, you are bypassing all the ways in which you actually don't know what you're doing or that your shadows come up, right? And I think what you're modeling and what we need more and more in the world is people who can both be very clear and directing, but also reveal and acknowledge their humanity. It's like, hey, sometimes I slip up. Sometimes I lose my temper. Sometimes I'm just making this shit up, but I'm determined to find the right way for all of us. In
I
full, yeah,
I even
right?
have this quoted in my chart. In one of the gate, it says, and it's a fixed gate. I won't ever change it. Like I can't go from the shadow into the light. It says, you're making truth up to serve others, and you're even selling it. And I'm like, how do they know? How do they know that I'm just selling my pony place to everyone, like going for, I found a way to be happy in life, because it feels like making it up, right? I love you quoting all those philosophers and intelligent people and scientists, and I'm like, I just have this, like I just have my brain, I just have what's landing in my brain. I'm not reading so much. I do constantly, I'm constantly in mentorings. I do courses, blah, blah, blah. But it's never somebody else's truth that I take, but it just comes from somewhere. And it even happens in my containers during my lives. I plan to say something and I say something else. And I don't know where that came from. And it's so hard not to stop myself, but to trust that this is exactly what needs to be said in the moments, because people are just, they just say, my mind just exploded by what you said. And I say, what did I just say? I don't know. And those are like such freaky moments, and I'm earning my money and it secures my life. Like, yeah.
But it's beautiful. So what you're presencing there, I think, is I'm going to make it up. I think it was Socrates who said something like all learning is really remembering stuff. And you and I and anyone else out there who's led a group or led a program or simply mentored somebody will have also had this experience, exactly like you said, of like, maybe you planned what you were going to say, but then in the field with other people, something else dropped through, which was beautiful and relevant and perfectly designed, which you couldn't have done by yourself in isolation. And so then here's the thing, is like your students are a gift to you because they're allowing you to create this clear channel. And so we just offer this gratitude to our students, to our clients, to the people who come to us, because they're giving us the gift of our best self.
And the connection. It's like, it's so beautiful. It's the same as in human design. It's so beautiful that we are all designed for connection, that other people activate something in us and we can't activate ourselves. So it makes us independent, strong women. We are being made dependent because we're social beings on others who activate things in us that we can't live just by our own energy. And that's exactly what these containers are for, right? That's like,
that's interesting.
I go for like, I only made 8K out of this launch, and somebody else says, but you have like the juiciest container. You're experiencing yourself in this whole new position of being a bit outside and letting the field do the work. It's like you're not doing the work anymore. You're not being drained through your container. How much money is that worth? And I go like, okay, you're so right. But also, we get these. This is the best job ever, right? Because you grow, you help people get happy or make something out of their life that makes them happier. And it's so good that we, like us coaches, us coaches who don't have a shadow and who never fail at anything, that we are being forced into the position of surrendering to what we're doing and saying, I have no fucking clue what's happening here. This is none of my I'm not a professional in what I just said. I don't know what I just said, but it seems to be right. So yeah,
we're responding, and it keeps you humble as well. I've seen a lot of people go down the guru trap of thinking that the thing that comes through them is them, and acting as if, they really do know something greater than other people, and they come toppling down. And I think, and I've seen it, it's not fun when you can receive that energy from other people and then return it back to them. That feedback loop becomes sustainable for both of you. And I want to comment on something you said around being dependent. This image of the strong, independent woman, while, and I don't want to negate that teaching. That's a really good teaching, but it's a better teaching for people who are coming out of codependence and into their strength.
Yeah.
And then it's a trap for women who are self-empowered, because then you need to go back to a healthy dependence. And so these teachings which get flooded around need to be contextualized very carefully. For one woman, being a strong, independent woman is absolutely, that's a step you need to take, honey. For other women, it's like, no, you need to now be able to let people in to be able to co-regulate with other people. Okay. Same for men. But yeah, it's understanding who the teaching is appropriate for and at what stage you are in your development is a whole other art form.
I just had a container with 100 women who got killed through this independent, strong woman. Yeah, because it breaks your neck, right? I don't need anyone means, there's basically no space for anyone. And you're complaining about all the weak men that don't fit your standards, but like, you're sitting with your ass on his throne. So where's the space? Like, you can't.
I love that. Yes, you're sitting with your ass on his throne.
Yeah, with half your ass, because you have to sit on your throne as well, right? That sucks.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't work. So I want to go to money. I want to speak about money. I love speaking about money, and we have it so we should like cover it. I have a few tiny questions for you. How do you love money? Like, in which ways do you show your love to money? What is money? Wait. What is money for you? That's an easier one, probably. But the third one is the juiciest one, asking you, what are you trying to put onto money? Like, which of your patterns are you putting on money? Because I find it so interesting. We're going to treat money like we treat our partner, right? So how do you treat money, Russ?
How do I treat money? I love having it. I love being able to make it. And I love, in fact, the reason I want to have it and make more of it is because I just love being generous. And it's like, I can put, I was listening to a friend yesterday. Anyway, he's been very successful. He's not so successful now. And I just listened to his story and walked out of the restaurant and just paid for his lunch. And I could do that with no further thought other than, this feels like a nice thing. This feels like a cool thing to do. My friend wants to come to a festival in another state. I can just fly him there because I just want to see him happy. Money is a magnifier. If you're mean and stingy, having more money will make you meaner and stingier. And if you're kind and generous, having more money just allows you to be kinder and more generous. And I just love the ability that money has to magnify these enjoyable qualities in me that I already have. So that's, I just gives me such a kick to be able to do that with my money.
Yeah.
So
generosity.
And same with myself, right? To have the best things, to buy the best things for myself. Also just freaking love that.
Yeah, to be able to afford everything that's going to heal you, right? Everything that you desire, where we come back to desire as your North Star, right? Because if you think you want to have and then comes the princess saying, I should be able to afford this, booking a 22K coaching, no idea where the money's going to come from, but I'm going to do it. Just putting that in. How do you show your love to your money?
how do I show my love to my money? I'm a little bit avoidant. I've got a little bit of an avoidant
Oh,
attachment
really?
style when it comes to my
That's
money.
exactly what I'm going to.
Sometimes it's like I just know there's enough, so I'm not going to look too hard. And it's so funny. Like I have a bookkeeper, I have a system, I have a spreadsheet I fill out every month, and I haven't filled it out for 2 months.
Wow.
But I do have a sense of where I am. And the question was, how do I show my love for money? Oh, it's a good question. I think I'm still learning to appreciate it. I'm very much more in a sense of trusting that it comes in rather than trying to control it. Having said that, I am above a certain level of income, which meets all my survival needs. And now I'm in the place where I want to meet my creative and expressive needs. So just to kind of contextualize the phase where I am now, showing my love, I'm just kind of like, I don't do a song and a dance when it comes in, but I am kind of quietly like, yeah, I just got another client today and that feels really good. Yeah, I'll do a quiet little humble brag. And it feels good. It just feels good. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's about right. That coming in. Good. Yeah.
How does money love you?
How does money love me? It seems to continue coming in. And I'm one of those people who always has enough. And how does money love? Money has also been a vicious lover to me because I've nearly gone bankrupt a couple of times as well, and definitely was not feeling the love. That said, in my deepest, darkest hours,
yeah, I love what's gonna come.
Right, there was still a part of me, and I'm talking the point where you're about to sign a contract and something goes wrong and you're looking in the mirror in the bathroom going, my entire life in the next 7 years is riding on this and I don't fucking know how it's going to work. And and I'm watching myself in the mirror going, and I had to get in touch with that place which knew that it was going to be okay without any justification or anything in the real world suggesting that it was going to be okay. In fact, everything was saying it wasn't. And just trying to hold on, connect with that part. And so I think there's a part inside me that knows that I'm going to be okay. And, staying with this, not taking that for granted, not being, frivolous or cavalier about that part, but having a lot of reverence for it, and just going, okay, I'm going to be okay. Is one way that money loves me and shows that, yeah, even when it doesn't appear like it's there, it still is there.
Yeah.
And that came at that rock bottom. It's like, as who was the author of J.K. Rowling, the author of all the Harry Potter books, she just said, rock bottom was the firm foundation on which I built the rest of my life. Yeah. And I think that was one of those experiences.
Beautiful. Something I came across, like thinking about money yesterday, was that why do women have such a thing with money and men don't, like with success with money? But there's a sentence.
I would challenge that, Svenja. I would challenge that a lot, but go on.
Challenge it after I finish, please. When women apply for a job and they think I only fit 90% for that job, they're not going to apply, right? Because they think I need to learn something, I need to become better in something, I need to improve something, I need to learn something. I'm not going to apply because I'm not suitable for the job because 10% I'm missing. If a guy's like 60% suitable, then that's fine. He's going to apply and he's going to get the job because he's just going to show up and say, I'm good. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way to do it. He's going to think that and say, I'm perfect for the job. So that's, if I put this on money, then it's like this insecurity of women, because money has this character of showing up for you or doesn't. somebody who supports you, something that supports you, or doesn't. Like if you have the default mode of I need to do it myself, I need to take care of myself, don't rely on anybody, strong independent woman, then you're going to make money not show up for you. And that's like, as the masculine energy is so much of the supporting, holding, showing up in the healthy way, right? I think men do have the tendency to find a better way, or to take it as like, this is normal for me. It's normal for me too. I don't know so many guys that are broke or have huge problems with that. So that's just something that came across my mind. But I think with us women, it's a thing, like to treat money, to make money abandon you. If you have anxious attachment style, you're gonna make money abandon you. Like you're gonna be hurt by money repeatedly. You're gonna find out that you can't rely on it, that you can't control it, that it's gonna do what it wants because it needs its freedom. You know, it's just out of your control. That's like, yeah, that's what I'm putting on money. And this has been my journey. Like I've always been 5-figured, but in the red numbers, right? So
yeah, that's try doing 6 figures in the red. It makes life really interesting.
Oh my god.
I don't recommend it. So it's a very multi-pronged question there with a lot of assumptions as well. But I'll unpack it and answer it as best I can. First of all,
making up theories. I'm making up theories.
Yeah. No, and I love it. First of all, I'd say, there's the sense of like, first of all, as a man, I'll share with you a realization I had around money, in that men, when we reach the point of understanding that we can provide, it's tremendously, how do I say it, masculinizing. It's like, it feels fucking good. I remember when I started to earn my first 6-figure paycheck, and I'm like, you know what? If I woke up tomorrow with a wife and a couple of kids, I can provide for them. And I really like that, you know? And so whether I have the wife and kids or not, I want that feeling, because it boosts my testosterone. It makes me feel competent, makes me feel like a man in the world. And I think the current teachings around money in women's circles are like, you, instead of going out and earning it, because I've literally gone and dug rocks in the middle of the desert for money. And I've gone and like, well, I have my 2 hands and I have my strength, and I'm going to go and I can physically go out and earn money. And that's important to me. And I'm going to push through any of the uncomfortable feelings or the pain in order to do that. Okay. And that was kind of my life for a very long time. I think the current teachings, correct me if I'm wrong, around money in women's business and the rising feminine are, you can magnetize money. You can, if you're in your flow, you can draw it into you. There's less of this, you know, you don't have to be in your masculine and go out and force things to happen or go and make it happen, when you can be in your flow and magnetize it to you. And I think that there needs to be room for both, because money is one of these things that just brings up your stuff, right? When you've got a lot of it. The first challenge is to make money. Okay. The second challenge is to keep it. Okay. Where once you've made money, right, you got more problems. You just got different. As Robert Kiyosaki says, you know, you're still going to have problems whether you have money or not. I prefer to get to my problems in the back of a Rolls Royce. Okay. Problems do not go away.
No.
But the first thing is, and then here's another thing that is important to notice. Don't set your sights at getting out of survival mode or poverty. Set your sights on creating something bigger than you can imagine. Okay. Because the reason is, once you're out of survival mode, whatever number that is, let's say, I want 10 grand in the bank. Once you get 10 grand in the bank, your whole dopamine system and your whole desire to grow just drops away, and you start relaxing. Okay. And then you don't bother making any more money until the bank account drops below that $2,000 in the account. And then it's like, oh, fuck. All the adrenals and cortisol starts coming on. You get stressed, but something fires up here. And then you generally go back to your patterns in the past of making money and go and doing it again.
Yeah.
If you say, look, I want 100 grand because I want to help children in Nepal learn to read and get fresh water for Cambodian school kids, you get to the 10 grand, you go, okay, I know how to make 10 grand. Now I need to learn how to make 100 grand and to open myself up to that skill set. And then you've kind of earned the right to manage 100 grand, and then you do the steps to earn 1 million. So the challenge is, if you manifest 100 grand, it's like the studies they do on lottery winners. Within a year, 80% of them go back to where they fucking started, because this isn't up to speed. So sometimes, in some cases, the worst thing you can do is manifest money because you haven't earned the right to play at that level yet.
Exactly the point of, stop touching my laptop, please. I have my dog down here and he's like, okay, cuddle time. And I'm like, no. Can your body hold this amount of energy? Because it's fucking trauma, right? If there's so much money in your bank account, your nervous system just goes boom. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't have the intelligence. What if it's all gonna leave me again? Which is my thing, right? I think I made 100K income by August this year. So, and it's not in my account.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can you hold this much energy in your body? And I definitely can't. It's like, I can't hold this much energy. Like I'm how do you say? Immune compromised. So that means like my body anyways with energy has a problem of holding it because it's suppressed. Something is holding me small so I don't explode. That's what's happening. And the same, of course, this blueprint is on money as well. So I'm not able to hold this much money in my field. I can't. Something is making me, or let's say it's not that I can't, but I haven't found a way yet. So something is making me get rid of money, of love, of energy. And that's my thing. That's my pattern. And as you say, realizing it's there doesn't mean it's going to change right away, but you catch yourself and yeah, you're going to do something different. And that's like the journey. So like, if you want to have a 90K launch, are you able to hold this much money in your system? And for most people, they directly don't actually know. I don't even know what to do with it. I don't know how to treat it. I don't know how to show my love to it. I don't know how to be surrounded by this much abundance, because people come out of so much lack of love mostly, but that's the blueprint for everything, right? So yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack in those things as well. Firstly, I think like with your immune compromised state and the correlation with money, it's like, yeah, you have so much energy that is there, that you are creating these things. You are creating that health. You're here, you're vibrant, you're doing stuff. Honestly, Sven, you're doing stuff which people aspire to. I'm sure like you're a massive role model to lots and lots of people, immune compromised or not. And you are generating these fabulous amounts of energy and money. Okay. And then, Rumi says your task is not to search for love. Money, you are magnetizing money. Your task is merely to remove the barriers in its way. And I think that's where your task is just to kind of be removing those barriers so that it collects, so that the health collects and you receive that. And then in terms of the energy around, there was this great question that I think St. John of God, he's like the faith healer in Brazil, used to ask people when they would come to him and they were sick and trembling and wanting to be healed. And he would say to them, what would God have you do if I healed you? Okay. Which is just this mind-blowing question of like, okay, well, it's like, well, then I would have no excuse, or then I would have to do the thing that I've been telling myself I want to. And that can be so scary that we want to stay where we are. And again, it can come all the way back to this desire for attachment versus authenticity. If you make $1 million, that's going to be probably $1 million more than most of your friends, which means suddenly you're going to be different. You might be rejected. You might be ostracized. And that's part of holding that amount of money is being around people who are comfortable talking in those kind of amounts or greater, so that you're surrounded by this community of people who are like, yeah, you can do that. And we're going to love you. We're going to love you where you are. And we're going to love you on the journey. And we're going to love you when you get there.
Yeah.
And we'll even love you, if you read Ryan Holiday's books, on the way down if you start to lose that. Because as I said, it's one thing to make a lot of money. It's another thing to keep it. And then there's a third leg, which no one talks about, which is, the descent back into the shadow.
Yeah.
And when I went bankrupt for the first time, I chatted to a lot of my successful friends, okay? And I scratched the surface beneath all of these bright, shiny faces. And I found out that A, a lot of them had gone bankrupt in the past, and B, a lot of them weren't actually as successful as they made out to be. And it just helped me dissolve the bright, shiny exterior and go, you know what, Russ, you're doing really good. You're doing really good exactly where you are. And that is a foundation. That sense of I am doing really good exactly where I am is the foundation upon which you can ratchet up and keep the money that you make without it kind of dissolving into your shadows or something else. And I've had to learn that the really hard way.
Yeah, but that lands, right? I've never been someone to somebody tells me something and I do it. I have to have something hit my head and I can't do it the way I used to. And it's a massive thing for me. I think I started like 2 years ago. I thought it would be awesome to have like 300 euros more a month.
Right. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, isn't it? Like, and it's like 30,000 now. And it's like, what happened? And that's what I mean by trauma. And what you said about the friends. And I want to go into the secondary benefit of sickness. Absolutely, my sickness opened the love from my mother for me. So she realized I got my love back that I was fighting for decades, and the ones of my brother as well. And so that's my secondary benefit. It even goes so far that something in my head is saying, you're not taking my sickness from me. It makes me who I am. Like, people are listening to me because I have a story to tell, and you can't take that away from me. So that's why I usually don't talk about it anymore at all, because I don't want to identify through the person that has this sickness, because I'm never going to get rid of it as long as I benefit from it. So yeah, that's absolutely a thing. Yeah.
Right. I hear you. I would also offer this to anyone else who's kind of going down this line of inquiry of like, well, here's a thing, I've recognized it, I see how I benefit from it in a negative, in I'm enabling it, and now I'm going to try and starve it of oxygen, if you like. And so here's something that I would offer from my practice is witnessing and allowing it to be there, and recognizing that and finding the wisdom beneath it. And then the practice becomes, because this part, as you said, all shadows are born from love. When we find the positive intention, I'm special and different, not mine. When we find the positive intention behind these parts and we dialogue with them, and this is what I do with people, we then ask the question, is there a different way that you can satisfy that positive intention, which doesn't involve making me sick to get love? Okay, because let's say that this part wants you to be loved, we connect it with your higher self, and they have a conversation about all the different ways that you can receive love, Svenja, without needing to be sick. And that conversation can happen consciously, or it can happen in the background in your body over time. And then you'll notice behavioral change. You'll notice yourself thinking and doing things differently.
And that's exactly the method. And I love how I always make people coach me for free in my podcast.
Yeah. And hopefully this is useful for everyone else listening as well. Like this is a practice which I can give you. So thank you, Svenja, for offering that. And I'm going to turn this into a teaching piece for everyone listening, that here's the practice, right? The thing that you struggle with, can you ask that question? Can you first of all, you welcome that in, and you say to that part, thank you for feeling safe enough to reveal yourself. You're welcome as you are, and you don't need to be different or to change at all. And then you welcome that part, and you get curious. What does it look like in my mind? If I listen carefully, can I hear anything? What does it feel like in my body? And you welcome that in. And then you can ask it the question, how are you here to help me? What do you want? How are you here to help me? And it will give you an answer. And keep repeating that question. Okay, so if I had that, what would we do then? Or how will that help me? And it will give you an answer. And then you can say again, how will having that help me? And at 3 to 7 levels down, you'll get an answer which will either repeat, or it won't have any words. And at that point, you're at the foundation. And then you can ask your higher self to come in and say, what are all the different ways that usually it's safety? What are all the ways that we can keep you safe instead of this particular pattern, instead of avoiding men? Or what are all the ways that you can be loved, which we can discover, which don't involve you being sick? And that conversation where you'll feel the liberation in your body, you'll feel the change in your nervous system as something at the very core of you shifts, and that energy will start to liberate itself. And that's the practice.
And you don't want to do it on your own. You want to do it with him, because seriously, I've never had, and I rarely say that, I've never had anyone where I felt like, let's say 80% safe, that he would hold all the pain that's coming up from the darkness in me. And that was such a beautiful experience for me, to work with you and being able to show up in this messy way, not having to say, I've got it all. You don't, that's what we do, right? We enter a mastermind full of coaches saying, nah, I'm good. I have my shit out. I don't need anything. Like, I paid eight grand for this, but I don't actually, I'm just here for fun. That's what we do. If you're a coach, there's nothing better than to have a safety net and a safe space for you to show up in your messiness and being held and being guided in such a loving way. This was very special for me. I mean, so thank you so much. And I mean, if you do offer free sessions to get to know you, right?
That's right. There's a couple of spots in my calendar every week for people to jump in. So you're welcome to. And thank you for those kind words. It's beautiful. And I'm going to add that I was the worst at being able to do it myself, right? For years, I would hear a process like that, which you can do by yourself, and I would like, right, I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to magically clean up everything. And I've been humbled so many times. And after a particularly devastating breakup in 2015, I think, where I just spent 2 months, literally, I'd wake up crying, and I'd go to bed crying, and I'd probably have a cry during the day. And the therapist that I was working with was doing what I'm doing for you, holding this space of just loving the shit out of me as all of these parts were revealing themselves, and I was learning to just hold them and to love them. And this is, the practice of self-love, and also in full humbleness, why we need other people and why we need each other to help ourselves co-regulate, to help ourselves. And when you do it with someone who sees the greatness in you, like I always see the light in you, Sonia. I always am focused on your greatness and gently teasing or bringing that out or revealing that back to you. And that is what repairs trauma. That is what helps us learn to love ourselves. That is what gives us the impulse to return that gift to the people around us in the world, because we've had the honor of receiving it from someone else.
Yeah. And that was definitely that was a first for me. And that's quite kind of sad. And when you just said, like, I love the shit out of you, I'm like, oh my God, I'm welling up. I'm going to cry. I cry a lot on my podcast. So people are good. Because I only go into topics that are deep dive.
Meaningful.
I'm going to put your Instagram into the show notes so people can just, you probably have the link to your calendar in your link tree or in your,
yeah, it's in my link tree. Yeah.
You'd be really, I mean, you're missing out if you're not doing it. I can just, only say that. I'm having my, I'm going to throw you out questions for you. Are you ready?
Right. I'm ready. Ready as I'll ever be.
If there'd be a song that was being played in the background whenever you enter a room, what is that song?
Oh, you know what? It's Energy by this amazing African kind of singer. It's phenomenal. I think Imaya got me onto this one. We'll put a link in it. It rocks.
Perfectly. I actually made a whole soundtrack out of these things. The soundtrack.
Right.
Soundtrack of my life. Like all
awesome.
The other questions. Okay, my second question. And I have 3 in total. My second question is, I can hear myself through you. Is that?
Oh.
Do you have me open?
That.
Yeah. Okay. Second question. DC or Marvel?
DC or Marvel?
Thank God. Okay. I'm gonna publish this interview. And there's no right or wrong, but there's a wrong answer. Yeah.
There's no right or wrong, but I may not publish you. Marvel all the way. Good Lord.
Seriously, that's a point. And
yeah. That should be a first date question for anyone out there, by the way.
It's in my Tinder profile, actually.
There you go. Yeah. Otherwise, red flags all over the place. Don't try and turn a red flag into a green one, by the way.
Oh, we need to do another one on that. I love it.
I've got loads of them. Oh my God, we'll do a whole nother podcast on dating for sure.
Awesome.
But can I give you one tip about dating, which I learned from a woman, and I was speaking at a woman's one of my friends was running a call in your man, magnetize your man kind of workshop, and they called in a bunch of ask the men anything. Here's a bunch of cool men, and I said to him, anyone who's dating, date them for at least 2 months, if not 3. The reason being, you want to see if you still like them through every phase of your cycle at least 2 times, right? And to also see how they respond when you're doing your winter, your spring, your summer, etc. Super important to kind of factor that in, as well as, taking it slow is like the best dating advice ever, period, full stop. But at least 2 months before you kind of like make any decisions going forward, preferably 3.
To also get out of these these brain states, you're not yourself. You're not yourself.
Exactly.
You're an addict, basically. So you won't have.
At a certain point in your cycle, anything with 2 feet and a heartbeat will do. At another stage, every man is wrong and don't touch me, stay away, kind of thing. And you want to both be able to reveal that to your potential partner and see how they receive that, so that you can be both authentic, which is the first part of being human, and then be safely attached, which is the second. So these parts don't come into conflict. That is then a good basis for secure attachment, which is, a whole other podcast on attachment theory and how to navigate a securely attached relationship and date as well.
We need to do one on dating. I love it because, these theories are great, but
exactly.
Always ask me, how did you do that? Like, how does dating look for you? Like, they want practical advice, and I have a whole lot of things, and we should definitely do that.
100%. I'm all about practical. All right. Third question. Yeah. Hit me with it, Sven. You would do it again.
Yes. If there was something happening to the world and everything you ever said, wrote, or stated had been deleted, and you have this one chance, now I'm giving you a paper, and you have this one chance of writing max 3 sentences max.
Oh, 3 sentences max.
And the school system has changed, so every kid in the world is gonna read those 3 sentences as like a new history of mankind. What do you want the world to know?
Oh my God. All right. Three statements. Listen more with the first one. Second one will be meditate now. And the third one would be kind, especially to yourself.
Oh. That's why I don't send out my questions beforehand. Yeah, it's so true and authentic if you just feel into it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for like your humor, for your knowledge. That's very impressive.
This was a blast. We got to do it again for sure.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Thank you so much. I think I tagged you. No, I'm gonna tag you and your Instagram, and people just go to him and follow him. I mean, all of the memes I steal are like 60% of him. So he's
me.
a funny guy.
Yeah. I want to tell you, I take spirituality very, very seriously, and at the same time, I don't take it seriously at all. I'm always poking fun at sacred cows, especially my own. And my Instagram is hypno.with.russ, hypno with Russ. Find me, connect with me, ask me questions, jump in and grab a session if there's one available, or just engage. More than happy to hear from you. And it's been an absolute pleasure, Svenja. And, best of luck to all the beautiful people that you're building in your tribe and gathering around you, because, there is such beautiful wisdom that comes through you so clearly. And you're a gift.
Thank you so much. I'm receiving that. The default mode. Yeah, you're a gift too. It's like I'm not taking it, I'm not receiving it, I'm giving it back. I'm receiving that. Understanding. Thank you so much. And what time is it in Bali?
It is 6:10 at the moment in the evening.
Okay. So you have a great evening. Everybody on my continent, have a great day. We're just starting into it. And yeah, I want to see you again here. That's going to be so much. Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it. Let's do one on dating and sex and all the good stuff.
Yay.
All right. Cool. Yes. See you, Svenja. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Cool. Ciao.